The Miracle Perspective, showing you the person you are meant to be. It's finished.
It's the time of the day. Please don't be late. Call your friends, I'll call my friends. Let's go and be changed. TMP is doing the most. TMP is doing the most. It's the time of the day. Please don't be late. Call your friends, I'll call my...
When I was 10 or 11 years old, my father sent me away from home. He sent me to a school in another province. I come from Mpumalanga. The province he sent me to was Limpopo. There we had a house in Limpopo, but nobody stayed there. My father would occasionally go there because he had churches also in Limpopo. So when he was in church that side, that's where he would stay. So when he sent me away from home, the first 2 years I didn't stay in that house. I stayed with this other family. They were very close family friends. So I stayed with them for 2 years. The third year, I went to our house and I stayed there with my sister for a year. When I was going to grade 6, my sister went back home in Mpumalanga. And there I stayed alone in Limpopo, in our house. I think I was about 12 or 13 years old. So I stayed alone in that house. The arrangement was that at night, there was this other guy, as a neighbor, who came and slept over with me during the night. And during the morning, we would go our separate ways. He would go to school. I would also prepare my way to school and just take care of myself during the day. I would cook when I come back from school. I was very short at the time. My father taught me how to cook. It was very short, very small. I had to put a chair to go on top of the stove and cook. And I learned how to wash my own clothing. I learned how to clean the house. And I learned how to take care of myself and how to be independent. As you might have seen, if you have watched the interview I had with my father, you will have seen when I asked him, why did you do that? I asked my dad, why were you doing that? And he told me that he wanted to make me an independent and responsible man at a very young age. But in my time staying there, a lot happened. Psychologically and emotionally, many things happened to me. One of the biggest things that happened to me was detachment. Because I grew up away from my family, I lost attachment. I lost contact and connection with my siblings. I lost the element of emotional attachment with my mother and my whole family because I was alone. I would go home during school holidays or sometimes during weekends. So you can imagine from grade 6 up until grade 10. That was how I stayed. That was my life. So I didn't get to know my family because I was always alone. I didn't get to spend time with my sisters. I didn't get to spend time with my parents. Basically, I didn't know a family setup. I wasn't raised in a family kind of setup. I was a loner. And as much as I understood what my father was doing, a lot of things happened that affected my psychology and my mental state. One of the things that happened is that I became so independent such that I developed this thing of I don't need anyone in my life. I don't need people. I'm self-sustaining. I grew so much into being an independent young man who doesn't value friendship, didn't value relationships, didn't value close attachments with people. Because it's just how I was raised. I only realized the impacts and effects of this arrangement fully when I was in my second year of university. I remember there was a time where during my second year, I felt so much lonely. I felt like I'm almost depressed. I was filled with anxiety and I felt like I have no one around me. I would come back from school, get into my house, just stay in my room. I would stay in the dark in my room. Feel like I just don't have any desire to be with anyone. And I remember during that time, there was a time where I really, really resented my father. I felt like this guy hates me. I felt like this guy doesn't love me. Because my father is someone who always gave me a lot of responsibilities. When we were at church, I was the cameraman. I would be the one to run around, make sure I'm in the worship team. He gave me a lot of responsibilities. Also because I'm the only son, right? He was teaching me lessons that are going to sustain me when he's not there anymore. But there came a time where I felt like I don't want to do all of these things, man. This is just too much for me. And I started having this feeling of resentment against my father. I was not very close to my dad during that time. I would be that son who would just do what he wants me to do and on my way. I would never sit down in a place with my dad and just conversate. Didn't have that relationship with my dad. Even though during my time there, when I was growing up alone in Limpopo, he would come occasionally, once a week, go back, once a week to check up on me, go back. So I spent a lot of my time with my dad. But at that time, when I was feeling all of these feelings, where I was now experiencing the impact of my loneliness, I hated him. Because I felt like he's the reason why I'm like this. He's the reason why I can't deal with people. The thing about me is that it's easy for me to get over people. It's very easy for me to just out of sight, out of mind. Like if I don't see you, I can forget about you easily. I won't even check up on you and everything is fine. But when we meet, we'll just continue like life is normal. There was nothing wrong. That's just how I developed and how I became. And it was only until that second year of varsity where I was feeling this impact and the effects of that time. And I didn't understand at the time until I started doing a self-therapy by watching YouTube videos, reading more about loneliness and this feeling of anxiety and all those things. And that's when I discovered that the biggest reason of how we feel today is our childhood traumas. And that's when I had to go back and check what are some of the childhood traumas that I experienced. And that's when I discovered that my time being alone, staying alone, away from my family, was a big traumatic event for me. I was young. I left my mother at a very young age. So I never had that connection with my mother. I never had the mother's love. And that's why for a very long time I didn't know how to relate with my own mother. Because I just didn't know how to relate with my mother and my siblings. It became so bad such that I can go for a month without checking up on my sisters, without calling anyone in my family. And it's okay. It's not like I'm thinking about it and I'm doing it intentionally. It's just that the way I have developed and I have come to be is such that I feel like I don't need anyone. And when I did my self-therapy, that's when I discovered that that is a problem. I had to see it as a problem in order for me to start dealing with it. All along before then, it was not a problem. I felt like it's normal. That's who I am. But it was until that time where now I was feeling really depressed and I felt that this thing is really affecting me. And I discovered that that is a problem. And I started dealing with it. How did I now deal with it? I started documenting my feelings down on a paper, on a small journal. I had a very thick journal where I would document all my experiences, my childhood experiences, what I felt during those times when I was young and I felt lonely. All of those things, now I started documenting them down on paper. And emotions would come out of my face. I would start crying as I'm writing all of these things. And I would start writing why I hate my father. How he didn't give me a chance to be with my family. I was blaming him for this. And I started documenting all of those things. That helped me to release all those emotions, all those negative emotions and things I was feeling against my father. But the biggest lesson I learned right there, mind you, my father did not know that what he did for me or to me was bad for me. For all he cared, he was doing it for my good, right? It was the best way of raising a child, according to him. And it was out of good intentions. He didn't know that I was going to feel that way. And that is why when I started dealing with this, I didn't go back to my father and requested him to ask for forgiveness. Because his intentions were clean. I had to deal with my own problems, and I forgave him. After documenting how I felt about the whole experience, I decided to let go and forgave him because now I understood where he was coming from. And the biggest lesson here is, you are responsible for what you say or do. I'm responsible for what I take. Vice versa is true. I'm responsible for what I do or say. You're responsible for what you take. The same situation is true in this case. My father is responsible for how he raised me, but I was responsible for how I took his way of raising me. And that's what healed me. I let go of that grudge I had against my father. And that's where my healing started. And I started becoming aware of my feelings. Mind you, the thing of being alone and self-sustaining and independent and feeling like I don't need anyone didn't disappear. Still today it's there. I still feel it. But in me trying to deal with that, what I have to do today to make sure that I don't fall into the trap is I am aware. I become aware of my feelings. When I get to a time where I feel like, nope, I haven't greeted my mother in a long time, I become aware of that and I quickly take a phone and I call them. And now that is where emotional intelligence comes in. Because emotional intelligence is being aware of your emotions and knowing how to deal with that. This awareness of how I feel and how I react to things helps me to become in control of how I deal with situations. I would sit around here and say, yeah, I'm not relational because of my father. I'm not relational because I stayed alone for a very long time. I'm not relational because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have all the reasons to make an excuse out of the situation. But it was until I took it upon myself and said, this is a problem and I don't want it for me. Because it was bad, really, really bad to a point where I've never been good in relationships. I mean, male-female relationships. Because I would get to a time where I feel like it's over. But the other partner is still there. But to me, it's over. I forgot about her. It was that bad. And it was until I realized that to be a problem that I could now deal with the problem. And that is why today I am here, being more aware of who I am. Look, the biggest problem to you finding your identity is the things you are avoiding, your childhood traumas, the experiences that you don't want to go back to. I've realized that many of us have these traumatic events that have happened to us. And what happens is we are running away from those traumatic events. And it's not helping us. The more we run away from that, the more we become unaware of who we are. The more we run away from those events, the more we become stuck and trapped in fear. Many people are trying to deal with fear, but they are not willing to deal with the childhood traumas that they felt in their childhood ages. My invitation to you today is go back. Take stock of all the experiences you felt in your life. What is it that you hated growing up? What are some of the things that people have done to you? It could have been the people who raised you, your parents. Maybe you were abandoned by your father or your mother. You were mistreated by your parents. They were abusing you. Look, until you go deep into those emotions and those experiences, you will be suffering from things like, I don't have confidence. I have a low self-esteem. I don't know how to talk to people. I can't speak to people. I can't stand in front of people. And this affects you in the long run, even in your endeavors, like in your vocations, your work, your whatever that it is that you can offer to the world. You can't do it. Why? Because you don't have confidence in who you are. Why? Because you are entrapped in your past. You need to get over that in order to discover who you are. And those experiences and emotions are part of who you are. They make you, you. I'm here today. I'm able to speak in front of you with confidence because I've taken the step to interrogate my bygones. I interrogated my demons, the things that affected me, and I dealt with them. Look, you won't deal with them completely in one day. It's a process. It's a journey. But the first step is you realizing that they are a problem and you need to fix it. Once you decide that, then you can start working on being aware. Whenever you react, you see when you say, I've got triggers, my triggers are 1, 2, 3. When you start being aware of those triggers, then you can deal with how you react to them. I hope this helps you, just like it did for me. Because the biggest thing to who you can become is not forgetting where you come from. Where you come from comes with experiences. What experiences did you go through? Those are the things that shape who you are. You have to go back to the roots to extract all of those things that make you you. Where you come from, the experiences you've experienced, they make a big part of who you are. Confront that. See yourself become a better you. The you that you are meant to be. It's finished. Remember, if you like the content, if you appreciate what you get from this, click the subscribe button. Click the bell icon next to it so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Like, comment, share. That will help me reach other people. I need your help. Thank you for watching. Till we meet again. It's finished.
The Miracle Perspective, showing you the person you are meant to be. It's finished.